What's going on, people? Today I am reviewing Air Force One in 4K Ultra HD, and I got that coming up for you next. So, Air Force One. This is going to be a first for this channel because this is actually the first movie that is a re-release that I have actually not seen. And yeah, you know what? Air Force One has always been a movie that has escaped me just because of the fact that, I have just never got around to seeing it. And I've heard that it is really Harrison Ford's really last good performance, like a very, very good performance. And coming to it for this review, I do have to agree. I actually really like Harrison Ford I've got to stick up my ass, and I just, he is a very likable guy, and he was at this point in his career. This takes me back to Indiana Jones and more of like the kind of just charismatic personality that he used to have. And Jack Ryan, I reviewed those films for you guys a couple of months ago, and this is more along the lines of that mold, but the movie itself is really like a Die Hard ripoff. We had a bunch of these in the 90s. Cliffhanger, Die Hard on a cliff. Speed, Die Hard in a bus. And this is Die Hard in a plane. And what that really comes down to is you got to have a good lead. And you got to have somebody that I can actually believe in. And I believe in Harrison Ford as our president here. And, they start off with him doing this really good thing to join nations. And you are instantly on this guy's side. But at the same point in time, Gary Oldman, the guy that actually takes over the plane, you see his side of the Russian as well. He's an extremist, but he's not just crazy for crazy's sake. He actually has a reason for doing this thing. And it all goes back to the Cold War, but yes. And I do feel like this movie really plays with that, and hey, this has some great action, and I was really into this movie throughout its runtime. It is just a great popcorn film that really reminds me of how good popcorn films were in the 90s. I just really like 90s popcorn films and 80s. And for that, I am going to give Air Force One an 8 out of 10. This is a really good time. And getting into the video quality here, this was shot on 35mm back in 1997, and it was put through a 4K scan and given a 4K digital intermediate. With that 35mm original print, with that being said, you can expect quite a bit of grain here, especially in the opening scenes. And the opening scenes, a lot of the exteriors are pretty soft. But once you enter that plane, there is a whole lot of sharpness here. You get a lot of detail and fine edges, especially in facial features, close-ups. Wide shots do come across pretty soft, but it is still a large increase from the previous Blu-ray. And when you get into the HDR here, that is where this really steps up. I feel like the skin tones in that previous Blu-ray ran pretty hot, and here they are really fixed and toned down. And a lot of just the scenery is a lot more brighter in this particular transfer, just because of the fact that the black levels don't crush as much here, so you just get to see a lot more of what is actually going on here. And this is a pretty damn good transfer. It isn't great, it is just pretty good. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This is more along the lines of what you would expect. But if you are a grain hater, you might not be the hugest fan of this because there's a decent amount of grain here. It just doesn't protrude on anything. And getting into the audio quality here. This is the reason why I wanted to review this, because Air Force One is given a Dolby Atmos track, and man, oh man, it kicks a whole lot of ass. The original Blu-ray had a Dolby True HD track, and it was fine. It was good for the time that it came out. This just steps it up in every way. This is an aggressive and immersive track. This field of sound here is truly, truly incredible. When you are in that plane, you feel like you are in that plane. There are all kinds of mechanical sounds and like sounds that you would hear in a plane, all throughout your height speakers, and when the plane takes off, and when people shoot a gun and there are just ricocheting bullets around, you hear those all through your height speakers. And surrounds are constantly in use. There is a decent amount of speaker separation here. I will say that it's not the greatest amount of speaker separation, but you know what? This was filmed in 1997, so you got to cut it a little bit of slack. I actually feel like this is a great mix. And I forgot to mention, the bass response here is incredible, and it really steps it up from the previous Blu-ray. And for that and a whole lot more, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. This is almost reference quality, but with the speaker separation issue where you don't have the greatest speaker separation, hey, you know, you got to knock it down a little bit, but still, this is really damn good. And as far as the digital copy is concerned, this is a Movies Anywhere digital copy, which means that you can download this pretty much on any kind of streaming service you can possibly think of, and that will be the original standard high definition version and not the 4K version. And getting into these special features here, Air Force One has always had very slim special features. So the director's commentary that was on that previous Blu-ray is carried over to the 4K release, and it's fine. It's Wolfgang Peterson. It's serviceable. And then they have added a theatrical trailer as well. I'm glad that it's on the 4K disc, but still, this is lacking. And it is always lacked for this movie. You know, it's just what you can expect. And for that, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Sorry, but you just need a little more. Give me something. And getting into my last looks at Air Force One, this is just a fun popcorn movie that just has the right amount of substance to it to just make you think a little bit. You know, you have these politics that go on in this movie between Russia and the U.S., and it's something to really think about, and the end discussion isn't U.S. is always right. Yeah, you know, I feel like we have done things that are wrong, and this movie definitely explores that. And yeah, this is just something that is just really cool, and just a great popcorn movie with some great action. And when you add up all my scores for Air Force One in 4K Ultra HD, that comes out to a 28 out of 40. That is largely because of the special features here. It's just pretty lacking. But if you like this movie and you like old school Harrison Ford like I do, hey, pick this up because the video transfer and especially the audio here is great. So up next on the channel, I have to talk about Superman, and then I have to talk about this little movie right over here. Yeah. The Incredibles. I reviewed it when it came out in theaters, and I have the 4K Blu-ray that I'll be checking out for you guys tonight. So, I have a lot coming out for you guys, and if you're excited about that, subscribe so you know when those videos come out, man. You know you want to see them, and I'll just quote Air Force One here for you guys. Until next time, get off my plane.